Lonnie Morris. Welcome to Politics Done Right here at Netroots Nation 2023. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, and thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, what brought you to Netroots Nation?
Well, a friend of mine who created a documentary called What These Walls Won't Hold that I'm prominently featured in had came out and screened his documentary out here last week. I couldn't make it with him. And so he said, hey man, do you want to go next week to this conference? He knows my organization, No More Tears, that we do work around social justice reform.
We're going to talk about your organization.
Right. So he knew I'd do that work. He said, there's this great conference that's going on, and you might want to go to it and think it'd be beneficial.
Where are you out of?
I'm out of Oakland.
Oakland, California?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I came. So I'm here now, and
what was your first impression when you saw all that we have to offer here at Netroots?
Well, I mean, it seems like a really cool. Like I said, this is my first time coming. I didn't even know what Netroots was, to be honest with you.
Right.
It seems like a pretty, exciting space. It seems like there's a lot of work being done around progressive politics. So I'm not sure what my full impression is, because I'm just learning.
You're just learning.
This is my
first day.
Yeah, exactly.
The first few hours of the first day.
Exactly. And I didn't know about Netroots from anything else before he informed me about it.
Well, one of the things that I like to feature here on my program is activists that are out there doing the work. Mm-hmm. And I think too often they're not featured as they should.
Right.
What kind of work are you doing?
So my organization is called No More Tears, and we were started 21 years ago in San Quentin State Prison. And we work around violence intervention, prevention, and we do restorative practices.
What is that? What do you mean by restorative?
So restorative practice healing circles are where we get with survivors of violent crime and perpetrators of violent crime, and we work together to reconcile their differences in terms of those who have created harm and those who have experienced harm. Mm-hmm. And we say all of us have experienced harm on some level or another, and all of us have done harm on some level or another. So if we can come together in a space where we're equal in terms of our experiences, and we can share those experiences, then we can find healing.
Function. I hear the aura around it. How do you actually bring people into the fold, get a clientele?
Right. So we work primarily inside San Quentin State Prison. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah,
that's
so
one of the major
heard of.
Yeah, so it's one of the major prisons in the United States of America. So we work there primarily. We go in twice a week. On Saturdays we do workshops, right? And those workshops are around, like I said, responses to violence and change your mindset, because we understand that the first thing we have to do is get people to think about what is violence and how does violence play out in our lives, and why many people in prison were violent prior to coming to prison. Some of us, while
so you want to know the genesis of the problem, unlike too many people.
Well, we know the genesis. We know the genesis.
No. What I'm saying though, what I'm saying is, you attack the core of the problem.
Exactly.
As opposed to people who just say you do something bad, we lock you up.
Exactly.
You find out first, why are you likely to do something bad?
Yeah, well, the people that we're dealing with have already done something bad,
right?
Because they're in prison. So, or they've been accused of doing something bad. Some people in there are innocent, but most of us have done something. I'm formerly incarcerated myself,
right?
So I'm speaking from experience, right?
Right.
So most of us have done something to get ourselves in prison. Now, there were a lot of conditions that led to what we did and led us to prison and so on and so on, right? But I'm just saying in general. So we already know that people that sent into prison have done things that were contrary to what the social norm was.
Right.
So what we try to do is get those people to think about why they did what they did, right? What was the causative factors to their behavior? And then how do we change that?
Right.
How do we change your mindset so you can go back into society and function in a way that keeps you free of society and free of harming other people?
Right. And now you said you operate in how are you funded? Is it state funded or are you?
So we're a volunteer organization basically, and we get grants here and there. And it's not a state funded organization, but mostly volunteers, and we get grants, small grants here and there. So we operate like that, and our volunteers.
Now, have you seen successes?
Certainly. So in our numbers that we've been able to accumulate is that 85 to 90% of the people who go through our program and get released from prison do not return to prison.
So the recidivism rate
is very, very low. And of those who have returned, none of them have returned for violent crimes. Only a small percentage.
For petty.
Violation. They might have had a drug problem and they returned to using drugs, or they absconded from their parole officer or something like that. But none of them have returned for violent crimes.
Well, I would call it a big success, you know.
Certainly, we believe we're a very successful program, and the way we approach it is we meet people where they're at.
Right.
We don't try to preach to people or talk down to them. We say that, man, we can't change you. You fundamentally have to change yourself, and that we can provide you with tools and a place and a space where you can feel safe enough to make those changes.
And I think one of the things that you probably add to these folks that many of them are missing is you respect them, you respect the person.
Right.
And in starting by respect and them respecting you, many a times they want to honor those who showed them respect, and in doing so, improve on their own lives.
Exactly. And the other part of it is that we have the lived experience. All of us, for the most part, that founded the organization were incarcerated.
Well, you know what? Let me stop you right there, because you bring something up. You are one of the founders, I guess, of this.
I am the founder.
You are the founder of the organization. So I can ask you this directly. What allowed you to change your being into somebody who understood the concept of why I did what I did, or many, I don't know what you do. I don't need to know what you did, but why many of us who've done this do it. What made you different from the others to go out there and say, you know what? I'm going to take control of this and do it myself. I am actually going to start fomenting change.
That's a good question. So there's a number of things. One, I got stabbed and almost was killed in prison. That started it, kind of, so to speak, because I was living in what we call the thug life or the criminal lifestyle, even in prison, right? When I got stabbed, they put me in what's called a hole, which is isolation and segregation. And when I was in there, I just started kind of thinking about my life, because the doctor told me, hey man, if this knife would have went an inch deeper, because he stabbed me right over my heart, if it went an inch deeper, we wouldn't be here. You know what I'm saying? So you better think whatever God you believe in for your life, right? And that made me think, man, if I'd have died, as a result of this, not just it's over, but what legacy would I have left? Who would I have been? Could anybody at my funeral have said anything good about me and not be lying? So it made me start thinking about that. And I said, man, I don't want to live my life like that. I don't want to be a person that doesn't contribute anything to life. And when I leave, people got to make up lies about who I was, to try to make me look like a good guy. And so I didn't really change them, but that started the process. And then over time, just as I met more people, I got involved in college. I got me a Bachelor of Arts degree in prison. And once I did that just really opened up my whole mindset to the possibilities of what I could be and could do in my life, And then once I realized that, I wanted to share that with other people, So I started saying, man, how can I connect with people in the community that's out there experiencing the violence, and particularly in Oakland in the late 90s and early 2000s, Oakland was like the murder capital of the world, I mean, per capita, more people was getting killed than anywhere else, And mostly all young black men, And so I thought that, man, maybe I can connect with them some kind of way, because a lot of these young black men were coming into prison. So I couldn't get out of prison because I had a life sentence at that time.
You had a life sentence?
Yes, I had a life sentence, And so I couldn't get out of prison. So when the guys would come in, I said, well, maybe I can start working with these guys in here to do something. So I got together with a group of people and said, hey, man, I want to start an organization, and we want to do something to affect change in terms of the way people perpetrate and think about violence, And the way their mindsets, the way they think about their lives and what they're doing with their lives. And so we started working together with a collective of about 7 or 8 of us. A couple of people, my co-founder, Mick Gardner, who was instrumental. He's now our executive director. He was instrumental because he was not in prison, but he would come in every week and meet with us so we could formulate this organization. So him, Bobby Evans, a lot of guys. I don't want to try to name because I miss somebody's name. But a lot of people came together and we started working on this, developed a curriculum, started doing workshops in 2004, and we've been doing the workshops ever since.
Lonnie, this all tells me that there is something in you already that causes change. And I guess what I'm trying to reach, is first of all, what made you do whatever it is that you did? And secondly,
we're talking about the crime?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, what within you, I understand when you said you wanted to leave a legacy. But for you to want to leave a legacy means that you had this inner thing inside of you that said, I am somebody something else? I don't know what
Yeah,
that is.
no. So, and that's a good question too. So, yeah, definitely. I came up in the 50s and 60s.
Right.
So in an era where Black Power, you know what I'm saying, was at its height, particularly in the 60s, right? So I came up under that kind of tutelage, right?
Right.
And so I understood that I had value, that as a Black man, that I had worth and I had value, right? Where I got distracted at was when you come up against this racist system,
Right.
and it's not fair,
Right.
then you start thinking, at least I did, and another number of other young Black men that was coming up like me, we started thinking, this thing ain't fair, so they ain't playing fair, so why should I? See what I'm saying?
That's what I wanted.
Right, yes. So we started thinking like that. Why should I play fair? They ain't playing fair. So guess what? I'm not gonna play by your rules. You know what I'm saying? You say you can't do this, you can't commit crime, you can't harm people. Yeah, I can. You know what I'm saying? You harming me, committing crimes against me. So that was the thinking or the justification for the behavior, even though the behavior was wrong.
Right.
Let me get that out there. But that was the thinking and the justification.
I get that. I'm glad that you said that because you open up another thing for me. And the other thing now is then, I get that.
Right.
As far as, well, you're not going to play the rules. How comes, though, that a lot of, it's a silly question, but I want the audience to hear it, that a lot of this crime that is created is among the same group, because the big thing about it is like black and black crime, like that is something really strange. When many don't realize that black and black crime is just almost the same as white on white crime. But I mean, given that it was something that you say against the system, how comes it was mostly black and black crime?
So that's really cool, because I think that when you look at the conditions under which we come up, right? And the nature of the reality of any human being, whether black, white, brown, or yellow, most of the times we lash out at the things that's closest to us. Because it's difficult to get to the things that are distance. So the system, right? I can't get to the system per se, but dude on the street corner, I can get to him. And so there's been a dearth of what we call respect, right? And then there's been this false illusion of what respect really is.
Exactly.
So all that lends itself to me saying, I gotta establish myself again as somebody in this world. And to do that, I'm willing to step on you. And the person I'm gonna step on first is usually the person that's closest to me. Because they're in proximity to me. So it's easier to step on you than it is to step on somebody that's 10 miles away or 100 miles away or across the country, whatever, right? So I think a lot of what we see is the black on black crime is related directly to this being put in these squats, the proximity, and put in these environments, depressed environments, oppressive environments, where anger, fear, disillusion, all these other things are bred into those environments.
I'm glad you gave context to that, because that would be the same rationale that explains white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime, et cetera, et cetera. And I think unless that is expanded on, as you said, what we get is a false notion that somehow when people see black kids shooting at each other, they don't get the gist of it. That well, you know, for the white kids who shoot up against each other, it's the same thing. Or for the Asian kids, it's the environment. Now, if they say, well, on a percentage basis, there is more crime in the black community, percentage basis, you also have to put out and say exactly what you pointed out earlier on. Given that you're in a society where where there's deprived, and those that are deprived move on to do these things. It happens the same in Appalachia, where it's a white community. It happened the same in the barrios, the Latino community. It happens the same in the black community.
Well, I'll say generally, but I do think there's another added element to it. Because
I want to hear that.
Well, the element of slavery. I mean, because the legacy of slavery, we have a tendency to kind of overlook that, as kind of just make it like a byproduct of something. But the legacy of slavery among black folks is alive and well, right? So we were taught self-hatred, right? During the slavery era, then even post-slavery era, right? We were still, that self-hatred was perpetuated. So the identifier of self-hatred is in our genetic makeup, right? So that lends itself to where it's whites, Asians, they were not taught this kind of self-hatred to the degree that we were taught it. So I think that plays another role in.
And it's good to expand on that, Lonnie. I think it's important, in fact, to expand on what you just said, that there is inherently maybe more violence in that community. And what you just pointed out, it's yes, it's there. A lot of it is socioeconomic,
Right.
but do not leave the component of slavery.
So
and
yeah, the
self-hate out.
emotional and psychological impact of slavery has wreaked havoc on our community.
You know, I think you're making me rethink a few things
Right.
in the way you said that. I think that component it's likely a component that I hadn't added. You know, I know about it, but I don't think I've added that into
Right.
what I'm doing. So I think that is a very, very necessary.
Well, think about this.
Yeah.
The N word, right?
Right.
So in the 60s, and I tell
Right.
young people this all the time, that was an anathema. You
Right.
couldn't use the N word around
Right.
black folks. You
Right.
like your brother was just talking about earlier about being woke.
Right.
That was woke. We didn't have the terminology
Right,
then,
right.
but that was woke then, man. Using the N word,
Right.
that was, oh man, no, then you get kicked out the car.
Right.
You couldn't even be around black folks using that, right?
Right.
Especially in public spaces, right?
Right.
Now behind closed doors, you know, people do what they do. But
Right.
in public spaces, like it's now, on the radio airways, where it's
Right.
everywhere all the time, in the
Right.
movies, everything, that was unheard of, right? But again, it's permitted, going back to the legacy of slavery, right? It's permitted by the powers that be, whether it's radio, television,
Right.
that word can be used by anybody, anytime.
Right.
For the most, particularly if you're black,
Right.
And nothing gets said or done,
Right.
about it. But there are certain words, if you use some against, and I'm not being biased or racist or nothing, I'm just being honest. Use a negative word against a gay person or use a negative word against a Jewish person, you're gonna get called a task for it.
Right.
You're gonna have a problem, right?
Right.
But again, so that's the legacy of slavery. That this ideal that psychologically we continue to perpetuate negative reinforcement of us as a people. And we've now even gone to the degree to where we say, oh, we show it with love. We don't use it with the N-I-G-G-E-R, we use the N-I-G-G-A.
Yeah.
Come on,
Makes
man,
no
knock it
sense.
off.
Yeah.
Don't make no sense at all, bro.
Right.
The same word, the root of the word is the same. White, and I tell young black folks all the time, 'cause they try to tell me, I said, look, man, let me tell you something. White folks in the South didn't know how to, and I want to use the word, but I won't, didn't know how to say the N-I-G-G-E-R.
Right.
Because they were Southern
And
people.
that's why it was
and they,
N-I-G-G-A.
Hey, thank you, they started that.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
Interestingly, I'm glad you said that because about using that word. I once, I think I wrote a blog on this where I
Right.
said, if I'm a rapper,
Right.
and I'm a rapper using that word,
Right.
and most of my music is bought by
Right.
non-black folk,
Exactly, right.
How do I ask somebody to spend some money on my music
Right.
who can't sing it?
Right. No, that's the thing. You're right. That's a good point too. But the thing is, they can't sing it because everybody's using it now
Yeah.
because it's been made acceptable.
Right.
And it's crazy because I've talked to some people in the industry, the music industry, and in the radio and film industry, and they say,
Right.
well, man, we're just catering to what you guys want, right?
Right.
So we don't want to be censoring
Right,
people and so
right.
freedom of speech, blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. But again, on the flip side, there's other words you can't say, and you're not gonna cater to that. They say certain other words, you're done. Your little baby. I mean, the baby is a prime example.
What's the word that
You're canceled. Yes,
right.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. So it goes back to this lack of respect for black folks, right? And this assumption that we're in some way inferior, so we're not going to rise to the level of demanding that you refuse to use those words on the airways or allow people to use those words on the airways.
Well, I don't. Please don't take this as
No, that's okay.
condescending at all. But what I think you prove, what you articulate, shows without a doubt many a times the wasted lives that we have
Right.
here in our prison system,
Yep.
for what the justice system and the criminal justice
Right.
system has done to our people.
Right.
Because the fact that you, a person coming out of prison,
Right.
can actually understand the deep concepts of what's going on
Right.
socially and what have occurred previously in this country speaks a lot to me that we likely have a hell of a lot of wasted talent.
Oh, ain't no question.
Sitting
Yeah,
back
ain't no question.
in these
Yeah.
areas. So give me a closer of this segment.
What I would say, man, is that I think that conferences like this are good. And I was telling a young lady just earlier that the politics, this brother was kind of mentioning the brother that was gone before, the politics of this country doesn't really lend itself to real systemic social change, right? Because you got the two-party system, that's a problem. You got black folks basically catering to the Democrats. That's a problem because the Democrats can kind of take your vote for granted because they know, oh, you're not gonna vote for a Republican. I just voted for the first time in an election, man, because I never voted in my life. Didn't believe in voting. Went to prison, got out, and decided, because I got, in California, they restored the right to vote once you're out of prison. Right. You can't do it in prison yet. They're working on that. But, so I said, well, you know what, I'm gonna try to vote there. When I was going down my ballot, bro, it was so crazy because I couldn't vote for the Republican because it's just, you know, be where they at, man, it's way out, right? But I distastefully voted for the Democrat. Right. Because I'm looking at I knew some of these people on the ballots, and I was like, oh man, this dude, hey, you know, whatever, right? But I still checked the box. Right. And after I did it and took my ballot in, I felt kind of like ashamed, bro. Because I was like, why did I do that?
Can I make a corollary to that? I tell people, you did the right thing in that you chose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, I don't like that term, but go ahead.
I know you don't like it. I don't like it either. I'm using that. I'm just speaking practically now. But I tell you one thing, that reinforces what we must do in primaries. Right. Well, so that when I say that, what I mean is, we have to make sure that those who are going to apply on that, are going to appear on that final ballot. Right. Are acceptable. Right. Acceptable. When I say acceptable, the candidates we really, really want. In other words, as an example, the progressive, you go to a lot of Democratic primaries right now, there may be somebody that's progressive that believes in social justice. And then there's another establishment candidate. Right. And they always tell you, we got to vote for the establishment candidate because that's the person that can win. That's not a known factor or a known. What we have to do is vote for that progressive person that believes in the values you talk about, in my humble opinion. Right. And then that way, when you go to vote the next time and you have a Republican that you know is not serving you, the next person is going to be a candidate that will serve you. Right. Well, philosophically, that sounds great. What I think is, in this kind of closing segment, is that we have to rethink how we do politics in this country, particularly those of us of color. People of color, we make up a large segment of the voting population, right? The white population is shrinking, the people of color population is growing, right, in this country. So I think that when we say progressive, whatever term we want to use for it, if you're running in the mainstream political arena, you're still going to be subjective to the games that they play. Right. And they always got maneuvers. Even if you get in office as a progressive, we were just talking about OAC. Hey, they starting to annihilate her in terms of shutting her down. They ain't giving her the platform that she had before. At first, she was all over everything. Right. Now she can't hardly get a platform at times, right? So there can always, the system is designed to control people. Right. So they can always control, quote, the progressive or whoever, unless we change the system. And give me your change as I close it. So I think that changing the system means that we fundamentally start on the grassroots level and start putting people in power that's going to be beholden to us, and that we're going to, like the brother was saying earlier, that we're going to be man, that we're not going to just put you in power and say, oh yeah, go do what we're supposed to. No. When you don't do what you're supposed to do, we're going to put you out of power. I don't think we disagree at all. No, I don't think we disagree. I don't think we disagree. No, I'm not saying we disagree. I'm just saying the next level of that is recognizing that I don't care what your title is, if you're not serving our interests, you're out of there. Right. Yeah, you're out of there. I don't care, progressive, whatever, the best person in the world, whoever, we love you to death and all that, you're out. See what I'm saying? Lonnie Morris. Hey, nice to meet you. It's been my pleasure speaking to you. You too, brother. Okay? Yeah, thank you, man. Take care and keep up doing the good work. Right on. Yeah. We need activists out there doing the work, and we need activists coming to these kind of organizations, not for themselves, but for what you can impart on others. Right on. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it, man. All right. Hey, have a good one, man. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share.